Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Newsmakers Live Part 2. We're going to start this show off with the Brenda Muhammad. Brenda Muhammad is running for Atlanta Board of Education, District 1. She's been serving, and she's done an amazing job. This woman is very highly respected in the community. Volunteer of the Year, Georgia Legislature Black Caucus. Sara Lee Corporation gave her the Women of Achievement Award. The list goes on. So I'm going to go ahead and let Maynard speak with her.
We're back again. When you talk about a revered and respected, righteous and riveting politician, political leader, public servant, the name that comes to mind to me most of all is the striking and substantive Brenda Muhammad. This lady is as good as it gets in terms of elective office. She's been on the Atlanta School Board for 13 years. Perhaps the longest running city official on the school board, and she's seen it all. The question now is, can she see another term? Will the voters bring her back? In light of the series of scandals and troubles that beset the school system. There are those who suggest Brenda Muhammad is the anchor of the school board and needs that anchor to help rescue, bring it back to its former glory or even beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Brenda Muhammad. Hi.
Hey.
Lady in red.
Can you go on the road with me?
Anytime.
I tell you.
No, but
to these forums.
There is something special about you.
Well, thank you.
And it has been, you know, from the time you started your organization at the death of your son. There's been a magnetism about you and an authenticity about you. And you carried it to your love of your son to the love of youth in the city of Atlanta. Am I correct? I'm not making this up.
You are absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
But there's been something of a train wreck with the Atlanta school system, and you've been on board.
I've been on board.
Do you survive, or do you go down with the other casualties of the school system?
Well, that's a decision that the voters have to make. But I think for those voters that know me and know the work that I've done, they know that I've tried to make sure that there was complete transparency. Remember, I was the one that stood up and asked for transparency. I was the one that stood up and said we would not accept this Blue Ribbon Commission report. I was the one that stood up and said our children would not be cheated by anyone anymore. So, you know, I think people know that I'm going to do the right thing by children, for children, and for their parents.
What led you to this career in the school system? And have you produced what you went there to do? The numbers don't look good.
Well, you asked me what led me to this career. It is not a career for me. It's just a way in the journey. This is a stop in the journey. I think this is a journey that God put me on,
Gotcha.
and I think it happened as a result of losing my son, which, by the way, Maynard, you would remember this vividly. Tomorrow will be the 24th anniversary of my son's death.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't intend to say that.
24 years, and it always seems like it was just yesterday. But it was his violent death that caused me to, which really thrust me into this work, because this is not this educational piece and serving public service. As you know, I had worked in many campaigns and served as the campaign manager for campaigns and been involved politically and as a political consultant, but never wanted or thought of ever running for office until the tragedy that affected our family. But I did that because, you know, I was thrust into it to make a difference, to use my voice, to use the contacts that I had established, to make a difference for parents who had experienced the same thing that I had experienced, but nobody paid them attention. And to look at what would cause a person to take the life of another human being and it not bother them. So, that has been my journey.
What is it about you? Because people do pay attention to you. Attractive, yes, but there's something more. Is it just something within? What is it you think?
I hope it is the God in me. I hope it's the God in me.
Yet, you are 13 years on a board, and it's been saddled by controversy, criticism, and only a modicum of success. Have you been under the thumb, you being the board member, under the thumb of the Chamber of Commerce?
Well, I think most people know better than that. I think everybody knows better than that.
I knew that'd get you.
So, I mean,
Nobody's thumb.
It won't even exactly. So
You don't do thumbs. Huh?
No, not at all. But there has been some turbulence. But like any trip, there's going to be a little turbulence. Even in birth, there's turbulence. But, once the baby gets here, it's beautiful. When you go through turbulence when you're flying, once you get to your destination, everything is great. That is, our school system has gone through and is going through transformation. And it needs to. It's long overdue. And it is causing us to look at how we can do this thing differently. Kids now, we are still doing things in our school system the way that we were doing them when you and I were in school. Well, when you were in school, I was looking when we were in
the blackboard and chalk.
Yeah, and desk, facing the blackboard. And you've got kids now who do everything using technology.
Yeah.
They master technology. Why is it that we are still conducting business in school the way that we did 100 years ago? And these kids are bored. We have kids in school who, many are not going to college. They are not college material. Everybody wants their child to go to college, but every child is not college ready. And
is that because of the school system?
No, because some just want to work with their hands. They want to do other kinds of things. I mean, we need plumbers. We need electricians. We need hairstylists. We need HVAC. We need brick masonry people. We need all of those. It makes the workforce. But unfortunately, when you look out there, you don't see a lot of people that look like us that have those jobs now. Because we took vocational training out of our schools and said that we wanted everybody to go to college. Well, the kids start dropping out of school because they want to go to work. And they want to go to work in a hurry. And when they want to see an end result, they want to know that if I go to school 12 years, when I come out of here, I will have a certificate or something.
Would it be fair to say, last week we were talking about public engagement with Al Bartel. Would it be fair to say that in your 13 years and dealing with victims of crime and mothers against crime, that you have a real camaraderie with the community, those who may not be the best, living the best, the least of these perhaps? It seems like you have a real empathy and a connection with those who may not be college material.
Let me tell you something. I socialize with, talk to, eat with, play with anyone from Pittsburgh to wherever. I don't have, to Peachtree. It doesn't matter. I'm the same. I'm no different than anybody else. I'm no different than anyone. Let me tell you, when I lost my son, I was no different than the mother that lived in Bankhead. When she lost her child, she felt the same pain that I felt, or I felt the same pain that she felt. It's the great equalizer.
Where are we going now with our Atlanta school system? Again, critics, perhaps one, your challenger might suggest, who did not show up, by the way, who's afraid to face Brenda Muhammad. They might say, well, you've been there too long and you're part of the problem. Do you suggest you're part of the solution?
Well, I'm certainly not a part of the problem, so I can't be anything but a part of the solution. And really, a lot of things are directed to board members. When we don't run the school system, it's really run by a superintendent. So, you know, that superintendent and his or her administration do the day-to-day operations. But we do have a responsibility for the oversight of that person and the evaluation of that superintendent. We do have that responsibility.
Fell down on that?
No.
The school board, the board
Well,
itself?
you know,
I didn't say you, the board fell down on it?
Exactly. We could have done better, and we should have done better, but, you know, we had a whole lot of other stuff dipping and dabbing in our business.
A lot of internal politics.
In our business. And that certainly had an impact. But I think we've learned from that. I hope that we've learned from that. But, you know, what I want the public to understand is while you may support me and you may have confidence in me and you may re-elect me, I'm only one vote. It takes 5 votes at least to get anything done on that school system.
Do you have a ticket you want to run? You want to suggest?
No, I just want everybody to pick the best person and someone that they feel that they can have the confidence in to represent them.
Are you in favor of retaining the school board president, Ruben McDaniel?
That's a choice that we will have to make. I don't even know if he's offering himself.
Are you in favor of his reelection?
I don't know if he's offering himself. Oh, for re-election.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you know, I hope the best man wins. I mean, there's several people running in that race.
Let's talk about the superintendent. Jim and I had a little debate. Do you think she authorized cheating? That she knew about the cheating scandal? And that preyed upon many of these teachers who are now under indictment and facing trial?
I would say this. If she did know, she should have known.
I just find it hard to believe that a woman who was that smart and traveled the country being touted as the best thing since sliced bread in public education could not have realized those astronomical scoring figures were.
Well, as you know, we don't have to be educators to run for the school board, but I do know this. If the test scores are in the basement, and then they're on the floor, and then they're on the ceiling, and then they're on the roof, and then they're in the sky, something is wrong with that picture.
Did you raise that question?
Oh, sure.
You did?
Sure.
You were kind of shunted
I'm
aside.
just, you know, I guess they say I'm just arrogant. It's all right.
But you were also kind of ignored, weren't you? I mean, you were. I mean, there was a political wing of the school board that didn't want you being arrogant and loud and aggressive and authentic.
Well, we had to end up. There were 5 of us. We had to end up making some changes, and it wasn't pretty. And I am sorry about that part of history in my service and our service together. But we are beyond that. And, you know, I just hope we, the public, I hope that we can get beyond what has happened. Never forget it, but move beyond what has happened and start doing what needs to be done for these children in our system.
Are you in favor of spending $600,000 to find a superintendent from somewhere with public money or private money? Is that job?
Well, we have already agreed upon an amount that we would pay a minimum and a max. We've already agreed on
That's
that.
$350, $375, right?
Exactly, not to exceed $375, I believe.
That's top pay in most.
It's not as much as the previous superintendent made,
Oh.
but that's what we've agreed on. I believe that whatever we pay a new superintendent, it should be taxpayer dollars so that taxpayers can hold that superintendent accountable.
That goes in the face of your friend, Mayor Kasim Reed, who wants private
Well,
dollars.
he is my friend.
Yeah. And a supporter.
Well, you know, and he has a right to his opinion.
Will we get a superintendent, a first-class superintendent, come delve and dip into this mud of a school system?
I
right now?
think so. Let me tell you, everybody wants to come to Atlanta.
Yeah.
Atlanta is the beacon. Everybody wants to come here. And this, if you want to prove yourself, this is the place. No matter what people have said, trust me, no matter what they say about Atlanta public school system and how bad they say that things have been, I guarantee you some of the best and the brightest will knock down doors to come here and serve the system
You are
in
as
the
a
city.
and you're probably right. But you're as astute as anybody that I know. And probably someone as astute as you are, is Michael Thurman,
Oh, yeah, I love him.
who's now running the schools in the cab. Why don't we
That's
grab him?
Well, who's to say we wouldn't?
Ah.
I'm not saying we are. I don't know that, but that sounds like a good idea. I don't know if he's applied.
Where do we go from here? Are you optimistic about the future? And tell us a bit about this campaign. Seemingly it's coming down over the use of charter schools. Is that the issue here?
You mean my race?
Yes, your race. Or
I don't know.
Is your race about race?
Well now. I don't know because it's very strange to me. I understand that my opponent says that I'm not in the community, that I'm not engaged in the community, and I've been, as you know, been in this community across this city for over 40 years. I mean, I know nooks and crannies that it would take 40 years to find. And I didn't just get there. I didn't just start knowing my community. I can walk my community blind, and I can take people through it, and know somebody in every community that I go in. I really get offended, when I hear that,
Especially that. Tell a briefly the story. Your first time out in Atlanta was right down the street here, wasn't it?
Oh,
on
yes.
Auburn Avenue.
On Auburn Avenue. That's right. That's right.
Only about 5 years ago, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm telling you, when I hit Auburn Avenue, I just knew this was a place. This is where I was supposed to be. I would not go back to Augusta, Georgia, not to live.
Is this a tough race, a tight race? Can you pull it off? And why do you want to?
Well, I think it is a tough race. My opponent is putting up, a challenge. But that's okay. That's good for me as well. Why do I want to? Because I have a purpose. It's purpose-driven for me. And I have work that I have to do. And I want this next 4 years, just this last 4 years.
The last hurrah?
This is it for the school board, certainly for school board, that I want to see some work finished. There are 3 things. Number 1, early childhood education. I believe that children can learn as babies. If we can implement 0 to 3, I think our children will be much better when they get in school. Too many of our kids are coming at kindergarten and they don't know how to read, they don't know words, and when that happens, they end up failing starting 3rd grade. So that's 1. Number 2, I want to see vocational training programs reinstituted in our school, at least 1 school for those children who do not want the regular track, to be able to go to a school where they can come out career ready. And the third is to be a part of that selection, to be at the table, to bring my experience and my knowledge and my understanding of what it's going to take to select that next person to be the transformational leader for this system, to have a hand in choosing that person.
Transformational leader.
Transformational leader. Somebody that can bring a revival to this school system.
You know, in many ways, I'd like to thank you. You've been a transformational leader
Thank you.
in many walks of life.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're really an astounding young lady. You really
Thank
are.
you.
A
Thank you.
purpose-driven public official. You don't really hear that much at all. Rare. And Brenda Muhammad is rare. Now, Jim Welcome will close us out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This evening, we've had two of what will probably be the most significant individuals to sit on the school board in Atlanta. Certainly, Ms. Muhammad constitutes one of the most significant members over the past 12 years. One has to ask themselves, why isn't Leslie Grant here? Why did she come, look in the door, and walk away? Why didn't she come inside and be heard? She told me earlier today in a rather lengthy conversation that she wouldn't be here. But there seems to be a problem with white candidates coming to talk to black audiences in Atlanta. Black candidates talk to white audiences. They show up at every event that is primarily white. We have to begin to ask ourselves that question, and I think it's the same question President Obama must be asking himself about this debt ceiling. Why is it that they keep threatening this country all the way to the brink without making any decisions? And they say it's a Republican issue. You think about it. What kind of an issue is it really? Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Newsmakers.